All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Read Brave, Talk Brave 2026. We are so glad you're here. I hope you had a wonderful dinner and had some great conversation with your table mates. My name's Claire. I'm here on behalf of St. Paul Public Library. I'm part of the Read Brave planning team, and I am just here to tell you a little bit of housekeeping before we officially kick off our evening. You are in our community room here at the Arlington Community Center and Library. If you are in need of a bathroom this evening, you need to go out these doors, take a direct right, and go all the way down the hall, past the desk, past the stairs, and the bathrooms are on the right-hand side. If you are in need of a gender-neutral bathroom, you can go into the library, and that is where our gender-neutral bathroom is located. If at any time you need to take a break, take a step out, you are more than welcome to do so. This is meant to be a safe and encouraging space, so please come to this conversation with an open heart, and we really look forward to getting started here. I'm going to pass it over to Library Director Maureen Hartman to kick off our remarks and our evening.
I'll take those applause. Thank you so much, everybody. This is our 14th year of Read Brave. That means that for 14 years, we have had the honor of inviting an author to come to St. Paul, Minnesota, and meet with young people in the schools and join us for a public event. It has been amazing every year, and I am so thrilled to stand in front of you right now for another year of Read Brave. Claire mentioned my name is Maureen Hartman. I use she, her pronouns. I am the library director for the city of St. Paul. Oh, yeah! It is a good job. Thank you. It's also, it's an inspiring job. It's a heartbreaking job. It's an important job. It is what I'm meant to do. So thank you for allowing me to be that person. And so before I get started, I do just want to acknowledge that there are so many library and city staff in this room that have made this program possible. They have coordinated school visits. They have welcomed our author in our green room, also known as a library meeting room. They have selected this book with me last summer. They have written discussion guide questions. They have found our wonderful partner of the Immigrant Kitchen. And I just want to ask you to join me in a round of applause for all our library staff. We could not do this without our partners, and you'll continue to hear from them today. And most importantly, I want to make sure that you know that the library is a department of the great city of St. Paul. Yahoo! And we also have a great library board chair, Councilmember Sarah Jost, who represents Ward 3. And she does deserve applause. And I want to pass the mic to her so that she can welcome you. So, Sarah Jost.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sarah Jost. I'm not as tall as this microphone. Here we go. Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah Jost, and as Director Hartman mentioned, I'm proud to serve as the council member from Ward 3 and as the chair of the library board. I also want to recognize my son, Jair, who is here with me tonight. I also want to acknowledge Council Vice President Nelsie Yang, who represents Ward 6. She planned to be here tonight, but she is at home caring for her kids who are sick, unfortunately. But I know how deeply that she cares about the East Side and showing up for our community in events like this. The Read Brave program is an event and something that I look forward to every single year. And this moment that we're living in is unlike anything that we could have prepared for, with the federal government occupying our city and inflicting trauma and harm and fear onto our residents. I want to be honest, when I started reading this year's book, it was difficult and I didn't know if I was going to make it through it. But because of so much of what Manu experiences is the reality for some of our neighbors at this very moment, especially here on the east side. It was painful to read about her loved ones being taken by ICE, the treatment of undocumented people, and her constant fear, always hiding, always on the run, and never having a safe place to go. She says, man-made borders should not matter more than people. As a kid who grew up reading Harry Potter, I was so happy when Manu finally found a world and a community that wanted to help her. But even then, she still felt trapped, no matter where she went. This book explores belonging, safety, and feeling at home. At one point, she says, I'm a passenger, not just in this vehicle, but in my body, in this country, in my life, defined by decisions I did not make. I know what it feels like to not always feel like you belong, but I haven't ever experienced the reality that many of our undocumented neighbors face. This book opened up my eyes to that experience in a new way. And that's exactly what the Read Brave program is all about. It invites our entire city into a story, into an experience that may be different from our own, to build empathy, strengthen community, and deepen our sense of belonging. It asks us to listen to one another and to connect with what I believe is the best part of St. Paul, our people. St. Paul is a place that welcomes everyone, a place where we can all feel safe, grow, and know that we belong. Our library spaces embody these values every single day. They offer refuge, connection, and opportunity to everyone who walks through those doors. I want to thank our library staff for everything they do for our neighbors, especially in this moment. We can give them another round of applause. I'm so grateful that they selected this book last year for this year's program, in the same way that they are so amazing and anticipate what our patrons need when they walk in those doors. They also did that when they delivered with this book for this year. I want to thank our author, Romina Garber, for giving our city a story that we needed, one that helped us connect, recover, heal, and understand one another during one of the most difficult challenges that our city has ever faced. Read Brave brought us together this year when we needed it the most. And while we still have a long road ahead, the shared experience makes us stronger and is part of what will carry us through together. I also want to thank the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library for their ongoing support of the Read Brave program and of our library. And with that, I'll turn it over to Beth Burns, Executive Director of the Friends.
Hi there. I'm going to do a little bit of that. My name is Beth Burns. I use she, her pronouns, and I am really, really happy and proud to be here this evening in partnership with the library to deliver Read Brave to our whole city and community. If you are in this room right now, you are a friend of the library. You're already here. But for 80 years, our organization has partnered with the city of St. Paul to say, what do you need? How can we help? I mean, truly, how can we be a friend? And so it's actually an honor and a privilege to go out into this community and ask for financial support from people who understand and value the library in all of the ways that you just described, and to invite people into partnership to make sure that even and especially when our city is going through really challenging times like we are right now, that we know we can count on the assurance of the library being there for every single one of us. And that is what it means to be a friend. We do not do this work alone. We are in relationship with 1,800 people who are St. Paul residents and donors to our organization, but 10,000 more who show up to be advocates. Many of you are those people. If you would like to join us in this effort to make sure that programs like Read Brave can continue to happen, all of us who are wearing these super cool I'm a Friend of the Library t-shirts would love the opportunity to tell you more about our work, but you're always welcome to visit our website to learn more, because we really can only do this together. This public-private partnership that we have here in St. Paul is frankly something really special that other cities around the country wish that they could achieve. And again, it's our honor, it is our privilege to provide the voice and financial support when the library needs it to make sure that we can all read brave and be brave together in community. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for those remarks. We are now going to welcome to the stage our amazing partner this evening, BIPOC Foodways and their Immigrant Kitchen program. When we were noodling on how to bring this program together, we were looking for pieces of the book that would resonate with people, and kind of thinking back on programs that we've done in the past. We've had music, we've had art galleries, we've had spoken word artists, but this year we felt that the food and the smells and the tastes that were described in this book were unignorable. We simply had to bring the flavors to the program. So this year, we were so lucky to partner with Immigrant Kitchen, which brings immigrant stories to the public through home cooking. So the food that you enjoyed this evening was prepared by the chefs and cooks that are joining us on stage tonight, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about the food that you're eating, the stories behind it, and their own story as well. So I will give it over to Mecca, and I hope you enjoy.
Is this thing on? Here we go. Hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. What an amazing turnout. My family's even here. I'm a proud East Sider as well, and my grandma was a St. Paul Public Library librarian. So I'm feeling right at home. I'm going to try to keep my remarks really short because we have 4 amazing people here who brought this food to you tonight. Immigrant Kitchen is an organization that provides a platform for immigrant communities, elders, typically women of color, to tell their stories, their cultural legacy stories through food. And it's been a difficult year for us too. As you might imagine, we had to pause our programming to keep people safe. So this is our first gathering this year, and we're all super, super excited to be here. And so look us up on Instagram, check out our website, get to know us a little bit. We do ticketed events as well, and we're lucky enough to be hired by the library to do this beautiful event tonight. So I'm going to start. I'm going to let everybody on the panel here introduce their own selves, and I'm going to start with Nico. We usually only have women in the house, so I'm going to let Nico feel a little bit self-conscious that we got a man in the house. But Nico also brought you the beautiful savory food you're eating tonight, so clap it up for Nico. And Nico, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce your own self and talk about the 2 dishes that you presented tonight.
Okay. My name is Nico Nikolov. I am originally from Argentina. I moved here in 2001. It's been a lot. Half my life here, half my life in Argentina. Missing a lot of the food that I grew up with. We created a business with my business partner Diego, and we brought empanadas to Minnesota, traditional Argentinian food that you guys are trying. So we did beef empanadas and sweet corn empanadas, as you guys had, and a lentil stew that I grew up eating in my house that my dad made, and had a lot of little tricks on how to make it and what to put in it. So I was trying to share these things with you guys. In the specific part of the repulgue and the empanada, different folds for different flavors.
So Yeah, I just want to have you, I want to call that out a little bit more. So can you repeat the word for the fold on the empanada?
Yeah. So the fold on the empanada, it's called repulgue.
Ooh, say it again.
I see. Repulgue. So when you grow up in a family, when you grow up in Argentina and you make empanadas as a family, everybody gets a piece of dough and your mom puts a scoop of filling in it and you try to close it. You wet the edges so it doesn't open. There's a lot of tricks. I'm not going to give you guys all the tricks. But then everybody has their own thing in different flavors. Like you can't just bite into an empanada and if you don't eat meat, it's a beef one. So you need to, make sure they stand. So you do different repulgues for different flavors. And very traditional. Everybody will know each one what it is without looking at a picture. So the beef repulgue that you guys saw, it's the most traditional repulgue for beef empanada. The sweet corn, I don't know if necessarily is that one, but that's how we do it.
Thank you. And I just want to, I want to make sure everybody here knows that because Nico does have a business with his empanadas, but in order to make things more traditional, and so they oftentimes use a press in the business, but tonight they did everything by hand for you all. So
With medium.
with medium. So thank you, Nico. So which brings me to medium. So I was on the phone with Nico and I was saying, like, I need you to hook me up with a woman because we really only feature women because we usually only feature women who are home cooks in Immigrant Kitchen. And so he brings Medium into the kitchen yesterday, and I'm so grateful. And Medium is a professional tango dancer by trade, and she was telling me some really amazing things about tango, and so we're just going to go off topic a little bit from food, and I just wanted you, Medium, if you would tell me just like a little bit, like if you needed to tell someone in a nutshell, according to you and your culture and your background and the things that are important in your heart, like what is tango? Because everybody's seen it and everybody's like, wow, that's so sexy. But like, and it's kind of intimidating, to watch it. And you had said to me why that is. And so.
Okay.
You go.
It does work. The mate does work. Okay. We'll talk about the mate in a minute. Hello, my name is Miriam Lee, or Miriam Lee. And what's so important about Argentine tango, or what we see when people look so incredibly passionate or they look angry, it actually is because we're not required to be happy and sexy when we're dancing Argentine tango. We are, however, required to come with a certain agreement of coming with our best selves, whether that day means that you were happy, sad, aloof, out of sorts, or joy, or sadness, and that it doesn't show up in your face, but it shows up in the intimacy that you have when you're dancing with another person. And that so I think that's why people sometimes look at Argentine tango and they see that, or they have this perception that it's intimidating, because you are required to share this really honest moment with another person. And that's what it sends. And I met Nico in St. Paul in 2017. I had just moved up here to the Twin Cities with Diego, his partner, and we started collaborating with doing different small Tango for Export projects with Del Sur Empanadas, and it's grown now to where we have a small nonprofit here in the Twin Cities where we offer more offerings in Argentine tango performances, in education, and helping share more of Argentine culture as a whole.
Thank you so much. And I told Miriam yesterday, she's inspiring me to get better sooner because I really, really, really want to take a lesson with you, and I really do mean that. So I'm going to have you hold me to that. Thank you, Miriam. And then we have Paula and Rocio, mother and daughter team, who are going to be bringing you the desserts later. So you can't leave because these desserts are incredible. And the whole team has been trying not to have them accidentally fall into our mouths for the past 24 hours. We got to spend time in the kitchen with this whole team yesterday, and it was beautiful. So, Paula, would you please introduce yourself? And by the way, I didn't ask, everybody here is from Buenos Aires, yes? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's working? Yeah. Hi, my name is Paula. I'm from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. I'm here with one of my daughters. The other one lives in New York. And we make the desserts for today. We make the most traditional alfajor in Argentina is alfajor de maicena. It's the most popular alfajor. We have a lot of different types of alfajores and flavors and cookies, but I bring that one because remember my childhood with my grandma, and she makes that dessert for my birthday and my sister's birthday. And I make too chocotorta. It's a I see the faces. Chocotorta is a easy cake because you don't need to use the oven. Just is cookies, chocolate cookies with dulce de leche. We love dulce de leche in Argentina, and cream cheese. And you mix everything and you make your cake. But today I bring in like a shot, more easy to eat for you. And
you can just shoot it down. No, I'm just kidding. You have
no shot.
But then these guys were all talking about how they eat dulce de leche in Argentina, like peanut butter on their toast, and like it's a favorite thing. So I'm gonna thank you, Paula. And I want Rocio to talk a little bit more about the desserts.
Okay.
But first, you brought the mate, and I want you to talk a little bit about this. And everybody here brought their own tea thing, and I'm not privy to this, so this is all brand new information to me. So I thought this would be interesting for you all to know about Argentinian culture too.
Yeah, in Argentina we have a mate. It's a very traditional drink for us. How I explain this? We put leaves. It's like an herb called mate, and you put right here inside. You shake, and then you put a different stroke that we call bombillas. You have a different size and types of bombillas, and then you need to put the hot water, but it's a specific temperature. I don't remember the temperature, but
65 degrees in America.
Yeah.
Like Fahrenheit, not in America, but Fahrenheit.
But you don't need to burn the herbs because it's disgusting, right? Not boiling water. Yeah. We have a lot of different type of mates. You have big, smalls, and you can have in the north of Argentina, you have a different type of mate that you call tereré. But you don't put hot water, but you can put orange juice or
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Yeah, grapefruit, and it's
Tang.
what?
Tang.
Tang. Yeah, tang.
Well, and one thing I was noticing, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I've heard about this, is sort of like everybody has their own mate straw. Like you have your personal one, and then if somebody is sharing it with you.
No, we share the same mate.
The same one, okay.
Yeah, for us it's more than
a
tea. Drink. Yeah, it's more than a drink. We use the mate is like to share with your friends, and you can spend a lot of time talking and pass the mate for maybe different friends or family, and spend a little time with
ritual.
Yeah, it's a very ritual, yeah.
And I just want to point out that, and we don't have a lot of time, and I want to make sure Rocio talks, but I think what I want everybody here to understand is that, like, after spending just a day with everyone on here, is the conviviality that you feel with Argentinian culture, whether you're talking about making empanadas together as a group, whether you're talking about the mate, whether you're talking about tango. It's all about, like, receiving and giving of yourself, you know. And so I wanted to pass the mic to Rocio, who came here when you were 11 years old when you came here. And I really thought that your perspective would be a great one to end on, because you spent 11 years of your life, and then you got here, and you were talking about that was the thing that you really miss about Argentina, is that conviviality. And so I wanted you to talk about that. And you can talk about the desserts too if you want to, but I want you to, like, talk to people about your perspective on because you say you want to go back and live.
Yes. My perspective is, I feel like we can all agree on this, is like missing that the food and the drinks bring us all together. And at least in Minnesota, a little more cold. Like for my roommate, for example, like I'm ready to talk 5 a.m. I get out there and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what do you have to do today? Like blah, blah. She's like, please don't speak to me. And it's like, and I've come to the conclusion that it's a lot with, it's like that with a lot of people here, and it's just part of your guys' culture, and I'm not used to that, even though I've been here for a while. But it's that fact of like missing, like at least also when we eat dinner together, like I'm used to sitting down and just talking with my family and being there for hours, and she practically inhales her food and then she's back in her room, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. But it's that aspect that I feel like we all tend to miss a lot, especially with the people we still get together with here, is we all just miss getting together at like 11 in the morning for lunch, and then my family doesn't leave until 12 in the morning. Or just getting together just to have our merienda, which is like our fourth meal technically before dinner. Like just getting together and having merienda just to catch up on your day and see how everybody's doing and just chatting. And like my mom said, like the mate is more just than a drink. Like we have it as a social setting. Like we drink it and we share it and we share how we're all doing and stuff. And I recently went back to Argentina this January, and I think that's something that I wish I could still experience to this day. So.
Thank you. Gao, how much time do we have yet? Do we have any more time? So we have 7 minutes. All right. I feel like I was wrong on the business of the straw, and you brought your mate too. Let's hear from you about the mate, Miriam.
Okay. Well, this is
You got your mic on the mate.
This is Nico's brother's mate. I have a mate for my bicycle. I have a mate that's made out of tin when I'm all by myself. And it's true, like, I prefer to share my mate with friends for merienda. And one thing that Paula wanted to make sure that you all know is that when we are serving mate, there's one person that is the person that pours the water, and it passes back and forth. And when you're done with your mate, you don't say thank you unless you don't want any more. But what brings us joy is when we complete our round of mate and we make this sound. Then we turn it and we turn the bombilla back to our cebadora, the person that's serving the mate, and we continue going around and around and around until we don't want any more, and then you say thank you. So that's important.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you two met when you were on your bike that day?
I feel that this is kind of interesting what we did here. It's common to tell people the mate is not a microphone, right? And you are using it as a microphone. So why is the mate not a microphone? Because you're supposed to.
You don't. Because it's hot. Okay, number one, because it's hot, and number two, because you're sharing it, and yeah, number three, no, it's not a microphone.
You can't just sit on it and talk and keep it. You have to pass it around.
You do have to pass it around. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You told me a cute story about how you met Nico yesterday.
Yeah. So Nico and Diego had the empanada truck. And you started in what year you started?
2015.
2015.
The food truck, yeah.
Yeah, and I got here and I was riding my bicycle around and I saw the empanada truck and I walked up to them and I told them that they didn't have empanadas. And, and it ended up being, it's really wonderful because it ended up being the closest empanada that I could ever eat that's here in the Twin Cities. It is so incredibly close. You know how people talk about the water in New York City to make the dough for the pizza? The empanadas from Nico and Diego are made with such care and such love and attention to detail that it really is the only difference, I think, would be that it's Minnesota water. So there's that.
Paula, because people haven't tasted your desserts yet, and I'm serious, don't leave until you lay a lip over these desserts. But can you just tell me, because one of the things we do with Immigrant Kitchen is we always try to say, so this, how our organization differs from going to a restaurant is we try to make sure that we call the people who cook with us co-hosts. They more often than not are home cooks. Paula has a business that she sells her sweets in at the farmers market. But we always say, no, really, we want the food to be as close to what you would be eating at home as possible. Whatever's the most near and dear to your heart, whatever you can tell a story about, and no, really, we want it how you want it, how you would eat it yourself. And I think that's a little bit different than going to a restaurant and looking at a list. But so what I'm going to ask you is like, why, you could have chosen any desserts. Why the two that you're serving tonight?
I choose that because remember me my childhood, and my grandma told me that how to make the alfajores, and they are very special for me, and the chocotorta too, because my mom, sorry. Okay. Sorry.
So, I thank you, Paula. And I love this work so much because when women, in particular women, cook the food of their mother and their grandmother, it's really, it's a really emotional, special thing. And that food is typically not a recipe. It's really, you do have to get into the kitchen with your mom or your grandmother, and it's oral history. And that's why we try not to ever ask folks to change. So we typically try not to do dietary restrictions. So we typically don't do the vegan and the nut free and all that, because this food really had to travel generations and borders to get here. And so thank you for that. And I'm going to end with Rocio one more time, because these two were in the kitchen yesterday. And I tried a number of times to get my hands in the desserts, and they kept on saying, no, we got it. So I just wanted to ask you, and end on this note, like, what does it mean for you to be learning this from your mom, and she learned from her mom, et cetera, et cetera?
To me, I mean, it's more than a tradition and more than I grew up watching her bake. Like, she had another job, and I don't know her as having another job. Like, I know her as a baker. You could ask me how to make these, and it's like when somebody asks you the address to your best friend's home, you're just like, oh, I don't know, I just know how to get there. It's like, I don't know how to make these. I just I can't tell you how to make them. I just know how to. Like, she has never actually verbalized how to make them, but I've watched her over the years make them for so long that it's a little piece of her to me, and it was a little piece of her grandma to her. And I mean, I hope to pass this down as long as I don't want to be a baker, but I do hope to pass this down to my kids, as I do. Again, food brings me and my family together, and I think she has done that with making her desserts. She has definitely brought us a little closer to home.
I watched you yesterday. You got it. You have the little squeeze and then the little roll, and I knew if I even tried it, I would have messed it up. So
I did crack a few, but
well, those are the ones that wind up in our mouth. So thank you for that.
It was maybe intentional, but no one knows.
Well, clap it up for these beautiful people. I hope you enjoy the food. Savor the desserts. And we're going to make room for the next people. Thank you all for coming. Look at how many people are here. This is beautiful. Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty. So that concludes our appetizer portion of the night. If you look at your program/menu, you'll see that we did indeed organize this evening based off a meal. So that was our appetizer portion. We are now going to get into our entree portion of the night. And so, well, you're right. You already did get your entree, sorry. But the real meat of this program is our panel discussion with our author, some youth, as well as our mayor. So I'm going to invite those panelists up now to join us on stage. Our conversation tonight is going to be facilitated by Maureen, which is lovely. And we'll also have Romina, Mayor Her, as well as two youth. So we'll have them all introduce ourselves. And I wanted to mention, just as they're getting on stage, if you have more questions or want to learn more about Paula or Nico and their food, we have their bios in the program, as well as a little bit more information about the food that you're eating tonight. After this portion of the event, we will transition to our dessert portion. So, woo, we love dessert around here. So stay around. I'll tell you more about that when we get there, but just to kind of plant that seed. But without further ado, we are going to get started with our Read Brave, Talk Brave panel discussion.
Yeah! Okay, there we go. I always think it's something I'm doing wrong instead of just some magic that is all happening. Thank you, everybody. I could not be more thrilled to be in conversation with these four incredible women up on the stage. And just to get us started, I thought we would maybe do just a brief introduction. If you could just tell us your name, if you want to share your pronouns, you totally can. And let us know where you live in St. Paul or where you go to school. Can I start over there? Yeah.
Hi, I'm KT. I'm a senior in high school. I go to Twin Cities Academy. I'm super nervous, but I'm so happy to be here.
All right.
Hi, my name is Araya. I also go to Twin Cities Academy. I'm also a senior there, and I did live on the east side for like most of my life, but I've recently moved to White Bear Lake.
Is this on? Yeah, it'll go. Hi, I'm Romina. I'm the author of Lobizona, and I live in Miami.
Hi, I'm Kaohly. I'm the mayor of St. Paul, and and I live in St. Paul in like the Mac Groveland area. Aww. And my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. You all can keep that microphone and share it between you. I think I heard it most beautifully from the folks up here on Immigrant Kitchen, but also from Councilmember and Library Board Chair Sarah Jost. But when we selected this book back in the summer of 2025, we could not have imagined what it would be like to launch this title in the January of Minnesota in 2026. And so I think I want to recognize the times we've been in, the times we're in, the times we'll continue to be in. And thank you to our author, to our young people, and to our mayor for being with us tonight. But I think I just want to ask these incredible women, how are you doing?
Yeah, so I'll start. It's definitely been hard just watching my community. I mean, definitely I haven't experienced it firsthand like others have, but I know like a lot of people that I know in my community have been affected, especially Araya, and also having our school shut down for a week because of the things going on. Like we had to go online just to keep people safe. I think more than it just being like inconvenient and, you know, like super tough to deal with, it's also heartbreaking, like watching our community have to go through something so unfair. And there's at times like you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, you know?
Yeah. Kind of jumping off that, me personally, I've just always had the mindset of just taking it like a day at a time, you know, just rolling with the punches and putting like ourselves first. KT kind of hinted towards it. My mom is Georgia Fort. She's a journalist here in St. Paul, and there are a lot of wrongful allegations against her at the moment. So just dealing with that day by day has been hard, but you know, I just stay rooted in my family and my spirituality, and that's how I've been dealing with it. Yeah.
Romina, how you doing?
It's heartbreaking. I wrote this book in 2018, hoping that nothing like this would ever happen again. And, you know, that prologue feels like it was written today. And that's scary. It's a hard thing to confront. when that hope gets dashed and you have to try to be hopeful again. But visiting the schools these past 3 days has been amazing, incredible. And if I needed a boost of hope, oh my God, I got it. I definitely got it in these kids. And one of the things that kept coming up was, you know, books like Lobizona didn't exist when our current politicians were younger. They didn't exist when I was younger. That's why I wrote it. But they exist now. And that's why I cannot wait for the mantle of leadership to pass on to your generation. Because I know you will lead with empathy as a result of all this, and it will be worth it, and we just got to get through.
I think I want to just echo what everybody else here has already said, but I will say that what I'm feeling today and right now is that I'm so incredibly hopeful because of the love that came out of all of this, the support, the showing up for each other, the being there for each other. You know, I was born into war. I escaped war. I came to this country. I overcame poverty. We broke the cycle of poverty in one generation. And I always feel like if none of that kept me down, there's nothing right now that could ever keep me down. And that we all will rise stronger and better together, and we will know better, and we will show up for each other better. And there's nothing that could ever play. And it breaks my heart that this is the tragedy that we had to experience to grow in this way. But I think we are such a much better Minnesota because of it. I'm so grateful and thankful for each and every person who was a part of this movement and part of the resistance and really like fighting this surge that was that occupied our city and our state.
Thank you for that. We have something that we haven't had on Read Brave in a while, and that is a whole stage full of women. Woohoo! Indeed. And I'm just out of curiosity from hands on the room, and how many people have read the book? I'm so glad the others of you are here too. And let's be careful about spoilers, everyone. Okay, let's be careful about spoilers. But one of the questions I'm really interested in, and I was really taken with when I read the book, and actually there was a hint to it in the quote at the beginning that you used, Romina. The moon lies in the lining of your skin. That's a Pablo Neruda quote. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is a book about women. This is a book about girls. This is a book about having your period. This is a book about kissing people. This is a book about figuring out who you want to kiss and who you don't want to at all. But Romina, maybe kick us off. Like, talk to us about what your goal was in writing about a woman, a girl, and all the things that come with that. And that includes your menstrual cycles.
Yes, very important. You know, I remember being a teen, and I mean, I don't know if it's still like this, but, you know, you have to go to the bathroom and change your pad, and you're hiding it real quick so nobody sees that, oh my gosh, you have your period.
I still stick my tampon in my sleeve before I go to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, and you know I do that as well, and still. And it's so exhausting, you know, to have pay this extra tax, so to speak, you know, for something that's natural. And so I wanted to write about a character who finds power and strength in that period, and carrying this sort of ancestral, you know, a requirement for birth, because we are all here because someone had their period, right? And someone was able to reproduce. And so I think it's so important to reclaim that as strength. I also felt a part of that was reclaiming the werewolf, because for so long it's felt like the werewolf was a male, you know, and in these scary films and everything, wolfman, you know, wolf. And the truth is, no, like the werewolf is an allegory for what we go through every month. It's tied to the moon, our cycle, we change a little bit, like all of this, you know. And so I wanted to make a case for that. And another important part of Manu being a woman is something, you know, obviously we can't really talk about magic schools without talking about Harry Potter. and the idea of the chosen one. And this trope, you know, which a lot of people say is tired and has been done, well, in Harry's case, he was a white, male, straight, cisgender character. So to be the chosen one, to be a hero, he must be heroic. He must be seen being heroic. But what happens when your chosen one is a brown girl who is undocumented, who is quote unquote born into the wrong body because she's a wolf and not a witch? What happens then? Well, she gets to be a hero by shrinking, by dimming her light and hiding her power. That is how she survives. And I thought it was so important to highlight that truly something cannot be a trope or cliche until we've all had a chance to sit in that seat, and how important it is to see how different, because that is real. That happens in our life too. You know, when we have female politicians, like, oh, she's too shrill. What is she wearing? What is this? And like, we focus on the wrong things and we hold them to a different standard. And I really wanted to hold up a mirror to that.
Thank you for that. Other folks on the stage, would love to hear your reactions or your response to Manu and her being a girl, and you know the awesomeness and the challenges that come with that, including you get your period every month.
Can I?
I just can't stop saying period because you know I'm an old person. Like we didn't talk about that before.
Never.
Like ever.
Shameful.
Yeah. So I think that was like, thanks for, and these young folks challenged me this week. They're like, yeah, why has that always been so taboo? I'm like, yeah, why has that been taboo? Would love to hear your thoughts, Mary.
Well, this actually really resonated with me because I come from a culture in which like boys are more valued than girls were. And I was the first generation to come to America. And I was considered naughty because I was like a boy, and I would play like a boy. I would, you know, like fight like a boy. I mean, I fought everybody in the neighborhood. And in my culture, they used to always say to me, oh, if you had only been born a boy, right? And I remember growing up, and every time I would achieve something, and then I would say, God, if I would have only been born a boy. So I always felt like I was in the wrong body because I was a tomboy, and I hung out with boys. And it wasn't until I embraced my identity as a Hmong woman that it really catapulted me into like the world that I was supposed to be in. And in my campaign material, it's actually based off of the Hmong baby carrier, the border of it. And I remembered being taught that as women, we carry our communities with us. We carry our babies with us. And it was when I embraced the fact that there was nothing that trained me more to do this work than to have been born a Hmong woman, and embracing that and being able to carry everyone with us, that during this crisis and being in community and being helping lock doors and unlock doors in the mercados and delivering groceries for people who were afraid. And it was like, that is everything we are taught as women, to love other people and to care for them, and like we are just as strong, just as who we are, and that. And so like it's just really like your identity and what people see of you and how they feel about you, and embracing that part of who you are. And I really felt like this character, like I'm a wolf inside. It doesn't matter, right? Even though I was born a girl, like those things are fierce, like fighting for your community, loving your community, showing up for, like, that's fierce. Like that, I don't have to be soft in a woman and like say like somehow those qualities were not good. So this really resonated with me.
Well, KT or Araya, talk about being female in this book, and you know what does that mean for how you think about walking in our world today as females?
I'll start. I'll say that especially Manu's character related with me because she did push so far against like everything that was been told of her, like how she should be, who she should be, how she should act. And I feel like part of that all women can relate to because society is not set up for women. Like we do have to go out and buy these products and do these things, and we are different, and that's okay and that's good. And I feel like especially for me, learning how to be okay with that and learning to be okay with being different, and even like I'll say people, but like men, like telling you that it's not okay or that you shouldn't be different or that it's wrong for you to act that way. I think it's been hard to deal with that, but I especially love how, like in the book, it showed her character dealing with everything she deals with on top of being a woman. Because sometimes every struggle that you have just day to day it can feel like, sometimes being a woman can feel like just that much more on top of it. So I really liked how you added in just the struggle she's going with, like having to take like medication and actually like knocking out because of how serious her period was, and just having to go through that struggle on top of everything else she was going with in the book. So
to me, I feel like this book is a really big like breath of fresh air. I feel like a lot of the books I read are like more historical, so to see like myself in a character was just like very mind-blowing, especially with like how long ago this book was written, like to today. It's like, whoa, like that's crazy. So yeah, I really love Manu. She's probably one of my favorite characters that I've read about like up to date, and I just think this book is awesome.
Thanks for sharing that, you all. I was looking through the book again this morning. As I said, I read it back in the summer of last year, and so I just reminded me of one of my favorite questions in there was, and actually it's the last thing I'll say about periods and tampons, but yeah, okay, then I'll move on. But the question is like she asked like, do they have tampons on Lunaris? Do you remember that? Okay, so Lunaris, won't give it away, but it's like, so here's the great news. They don't need tampons on Lunaris because like everything is taken care of. And so I just really loved that, that idea of like, wow, this is magic. They don't need tampons. Anyway, thank you. I think, so one of the things I was saying to Romina when I first met her a little bit ago, that you mentioned Harry Potter, but I could not have imagined, this book had to have been written by a reader. I think you mentioned Alice in Wonderland, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, certainly Harry Potter. I saw a little Pride and Prejudice snuck in there. Talk about, Romina, if you want to kick us off, where's reading in your life? Like how has reading informed where you are now? And I would love to have our panelists all answer that question about like, where does reading sit in your life? Where do you wish it would sit? Where has it sat in the past?
Obviously, reading, I am a reader first, of course, as you noted. That's why I am constantly dropping references to other books in my books, because that's the beauty of books. I think that as authors, we're in dialogue with each other. And so having like this tactile like record of a story, of a book, of a time, like it kind of then to write later on and to reference it, it's like we're time traveling and we're speaking with the past, and that's the only way we can draw conclusions and learn and move and evolve. And I think that's such a cool aspect of writing. So yes, I am a reader, and I will say that books are have been very important in my life. When I moved here from Argentina and I didn't speak English and I was trying to learn, even after I left ESOL and went into like the regular classes, I still struggled so hard to read. It was like one of the things that I was so ashamed that I struggled with it. I still remember my third grade teacher holding a ruler over the word, revealing one syllable at a time, trying to help get me there. And I was like, oh, this is never going to happen, And then in fourth grade, our teacher read to us from the book that changed my life, Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk. And and I really felt like I heard the English language for the first time. And I started writing. I wrote my first poem after that. Si yo fuera la luz, iluminaría la avestruz. It was like this whole Spanish thing. And my Spanish teacher loved it. And she sent it to the Miami County Fair. And I won first place. And I was 9, and like I had no talents that I knew of yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something I can do, And it changed my life. I never stopped writing since. So yes, books, very important.
Love that. KT or Rayad, thoughts on reading, or are you all too busy to read?
Yeah, I feel like that's why I love reading a lot, because when I do find time, it's a simple joy in life, but I feel like it can be a lot of things. Like, especially when there's a lot going on in the world. It's nice to just sit down and escape from reality. It's nice to read something where I don't have to think about anything else going on in my life. I can just put my mind in a book and just be completely in that universe. But I also think it can be a reality, like especially in this book. It's like when you read stuff like this, you realize that sometimes it's not just political, or sometimes it's not just a discussion or a debate. Like, there are real people who go through these things, and just it's like it can give perspective. And I think reading and books, there are history.
I would definitely say, like, when I do have the time to read a book, I definitely do enjoy it, like KT said. I feel like books is like, and just media in general is a big way that, like, I give myself and, like, my body to rest, like, during these times. So it's just really great. But honestly, now these days, like, when I read books, I get more inspired to write, which is something I've been loving a lot. I love writing poetry. I love writing about my day and, like, a storybook, like, art style. So, yeah, I feel like books and reading and writing are all, like, very important tools for all of us to develop and have, so.
So I really struggle with reading because English isn't my first language either, and I almost failed the second grade, but I didn't. So, and I think that, like, looking back now, I think I have dyslexia and ADHD and, like, all of the things in which they didn't diagnose us for. I'm 52 now, and back then you were just labeled as not smart, and they were just told you should go into a trade and you'll never become something. And so, like, I actually really struggled with reading, and so I didn't enjoy reading. But it's so interesting that you told your story, because I fell in love with Shel Silverstein, because, like, I couldn't read long books because of probably my ADHD, and then dyslexia didn't help. But I could read poetry. And I remembered, like, those are the books that I would look for. And I wrote my first poem when I was in fourth grade as well. And I still remember it. It's so funny. But, of course, I would never imagine being a writer, because I realized what a terrible reader I was. And I would fear having to read out loud. They used to, like, pick kids and you had to read out loud. And I feared that. And I actually really struggled, and I studied a lot in college, because you require really good reading skills. So I would study from noon to midnight every night for 4.5 years. And I learned to read by memorizing every single word, not by sounding it out. And so I actually remember in my 30s being very afraid that my 2 children at the time were very young, would figure out that they were going to be better readers than me in a few years, and they were in elementary school. And so I don't know what happened, but then I went to get a doctorate. Like, somebody who does not read well, you should not get a doctorate. But it really, like, taught me to love reading, because I realized that I was an academic at heart, and I loved reading theory, and I loved reading to understand people and why things happen the way that they did. And so, like, I became somebody who loved reading so much later in life. And, like, I really have only loved reading very recently. And I'm ashamed to say that the first time I really read books, like this type of book, I was already in my 40s, and my daughter had already read The Hunger Games when she was, like, in 6th grade. And it was years later, and she kept telling me the Hunger Games. I'm like, do they eat each other? Or, like, are they fighting to get some food or whatever? She's like, no, Mom. And she's explaining this dystopian world. I was like, I couldn't imagine it in my brain. And then the movie was coming out, and she wanted to see it. And I was like, I got to read this book, because the book is always better than the movie. And I remember reading all 3 books. I would stay I've never done that before, but I read it all night, all day, all night. And I finished the books, and I thought, this must be what it feels like to love a book. And so, like, that's when I learned to love reading. And it's still hard now, but, like, it's because I struggled. And if you struggle with reading, it's okay. You will figure it out, too.
Thank you for saying that. That's really incredible. So, I think one of the themes as I think about this book, and there's so many things I want to ask about and talk about, but one of the things that stands out to me especially is that one of the things, like Manu is searching for her place, right? A lot of us are like that still, no matter how old we are. And I remember her saying that she's just looking for one place where it's safe to be. And there are a number of reasons why it is not safe for Manu in a variety of different places, right? But I'm so interested in hearing from this panel, where are the places that are safe for you to be? And what makes up those safe spaces? What are the people that are in it, or the qualities that they make? And I'm asking for selfish reasons, because We want libraries. We believe libraries are places of belonging. And so we want everyone to feel welcome there. But I only know what makes me feel welcome somewhere, right? So we're always in conversation with our community members, asking them, what does it feel like to belong in a space, or to feel that there's one place in which you are safe? And so not everybody has to answer this, but I would love your thoughts on what that looks like for you, what that belonging and safety look like.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll say that in moving to Minnesota, it has been hard because not only like they were talking about in like Immigrant Kitchen, but there is a very culture to Minnesota. Minnesota passive aggressiveness is real, but I feel like growing up, it was just a lot of like, you talk to your neighbors, you talk to everyone, you wouldn't be shy. Like, I grew up in the South, so when I was there, we would talk to everyone. You wouldn't be shy. In a grocery store, you'd say hi, or like your neighbor would invite you in and you would just come in. So I feel like it has been harder as I've gotten older, but a lot of the places in Minnesota that I feel like are the safest for me and I belong the most are where people include me, or be inclusive and are willing to talk and have conversations. And especially with social media the way it is today, it can be really hard to have real conversations with people, like face to face. And I feel like it's important for us to find communities where all of us can actually bond as humans and talk as humans and interact and, you know, talk about what's going on around us and, you know, just how we are.
Yeah, I feel like is like someone who is, like as youth, I feel like it's all of our responsibility to seek out these spaces. I feel like Katie said, I feel like there's a lot of talk in my generation about like not being able to connect with others because of how like online everyone is. And so I feel like the first step in that is like being able to hold yourself accountable and be able to seek these spaces that are in our community. But I feel like some things that do make me feel like I have a place in the East Side, even still not living here anymore, is like, of course, my friends, my family, and then also just like I know this city like the back of my hand. Like I know I belong here because I've always had a place here since I was born.
Anyone else want to take an answer to that? Romina?
I've always felt safest in books. So reading, like any time that I'm going through anything, I just have to retreat into a book. It just feels very safe, particularly if I've already read it. Then it's like, I feel like it's this cozy spot. I know every nook and cranny, and like I know when like something I really love is around the corner, you know, and it just feels great. And actually in one of my books, there's a character who has led a very nomadic lifestyle. She's a teen, and because of her parents, like they're always going and picking up in places, and she kind of loves checking out the indie bookstore in every place she ends up, because she's like, it's like a home, you know, for homesick bibliophiles, you know, for people who don't have a home. And then her biggest dream is to one day have a library card, because the moment she does, she knows she has a community, that she has a steady home and belongs. And so she goes through this whole story just waiting to get that library card and know, like, that means I'm settling, like I'm here for good. So yeah, libraries are so important, right? I mean, yes.
I was just thinking, I don't know if I have a safe place, right? I will say, though, that where I feel the safest is when I'm with other people who are dreaming, people who are like not judging each other about what we believe and about the future, about ourselves or what is possible. Like, that's why I love being with children. I think my team thinks it's crazy that I'll go places and like there'll be like babies that are strangers, and I'll just be like, can I hold your baby? And like, and I will always gravitate towards children because like they always still have like this hope for what the world looks like through their eyes. And so it's like, for me, it's not really a physical place. It's like the people that make up that space, in that place of non-judgment, and that dreaming and that feeling and that just optimism of what the world could be like. So if that's for me. So that place could be anywhere as long as I'm surrounded by those people.
Well, I hope we're in a place like that right now. Okay, yeah. I mean, that was kind of a leading question, so thanks for not saying no. That actually reminds me of something. So, one of this again, no spoilers, but one of the things that Manu finds is her manada. Am I pronouncing manada? Her pack, right? Her people, and that I'm interested in. You talked about the kinds of people, right, where you feel safe. Who are the people that are in your pack? Who are the people what are the qualities that they have? And I'm really interested in whether or not that resonated with you in the book about Manu looking to find her people.
Yeah, so I am actually the oldest of 6. So my family has always called all of us like, oh, like your sisters in your tribe. Like I always feel like my sisters always hold like a very big part of my heart. And so my sisters are silly, they're super funny, they're very childish, they always make me laugh. And so just having that, like, I see that same thing that, like, the mayor was saying, too, of just, like, there's just, like, this light behind their eyes of just, like, so much hope and joy. And it really inspires me to be more of myself, like, when I'm out in public. So, yes, my people, my sisters, my tribe.
Yeah, so for me, I would say, especially, again, moving away from my home, like, I didn't think that I would meet anybody here initially. And, like, a lot of people thought I was weird, so I guess in that way, I really relate to Manu. Like, she did not feel like she belonged anywhere. She was judged for almost everything, like, in every place that she was. And I would say freshman year, Araya was really, like, part of my pack. She was just as weird as me. We had all the same similar interests, and she's really, like, throughout all my 4 years of high school, we've really stuck together. So I think it's good to find people who aren't afraid to be who they are, and just like Manu does, like, discover themselves, people that help you discover yourself and let you be who you are. My mom, she's in the crowd right now. My mom especially, too.
Yeah, moms. Woohoo to the moms.
And
the dads.
Going
and the
back
parents.
to being a woman, such an important part of being a woman is growing up and having conversations with your mom. So I feel like she's part of my pack, too. Yeah, probably those people.
As the parent of a teenager, you just made her, like, lifetime. That you said that she was part of your pack. I would give anything for my children to say that. Thank you for saying that. That's right. Other thoughts on your packs?
Yeah, that was beautiful. I would also put in my family for sure in my pack. My husband, who's here filming me right now. And one thing I will say about packs is, like, my readers. And I say this surprised because honestly, one of the things that drew me the most to being a novelist was not having to interact with humans. Like, I was like, I can just hide behind, all I am is like ink on a page, nobody thinks about the author. You think about the characters or the story. And as an anxious kid, I was very drawn to that. And of course, by the time I made it as an author, there's something called social media. And suddenly all the job of promoting and selling your book is on you, in addition to writing it. And I thought I was going to struggle with that. Like, I was like, oh no, meeting people, like, they're going to see me and be like, who's this? Like, this is it? Like, this is what's behind the curtain, the wizard. And what I was shocked by after my first book was how instead of the writing being my favorite part, it was meeting readers. And as like a homebody who's very introverted and, kind of existentially lonely, which Manu proves, I did not see that coming. But it kind of felt like this like call out into the universe for my people. And it brought my people to me. And I met so many amazing readers just virtually, like some of them in person, but a lot of them virtually. And it was shocking to see how not alone I was or I am, and I do think like, books are produced in isolation, but it's best when they're consumed in good company. And I really feel that a lot, even as a writer.
I don't know, I felt really deeply emotional when the two of you were like sharing your people. Like, it made me a little teary-eyed because I think about what it means when you are people of color and you're bicultural And like, you're not the same person when you're with your people or when you're with the dominant culture. And I often find that it's really hard to find your people when, like, who you are isn't the same all the time. I don't know, like, I don't know if that makes any sense to people, you know? So, like, so it's hard to find your people, and I've found that, like, as I've moved in my stages in life, my people have changed, so, like, I don't have the same people. And sometimes I feel so sad when some people's, like, people have been with them since elementary school. Like, I don't know anybody from elementary school, and I don't have friends from high school, and I don't have friends from college. And so I was like, it's as if, like, and I don't know, maybe this is part of my own internalized depression or the trauma that I've carried with me and the generational trauma, but it's almost like when I leave something, I leave everybody behind. And I start something new, and I create a whole new tribe or a whole new group of people. And I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a sad thing. I don't know yet. And so, like, I'm still processing what all of this means, because as I'm listening to all of this, like, maybe there's a little part of me that feels just a little sad inside that, like, maybe I haven't really found all my people yet. And what if I'm still getting there to find my people? I don't know, you know? So, like, and maybe that'll become more rooted when I really understand more about my identity, and because I gave up a lot of who I was in order to break that cycle of poverty, in order to work in corporate America, in order to, like, get into leadership roles, that you almost have to give a little part of your identity away in order to fit into all these spaces. So, like, can you ever truly find your people if who you are is continually changing as well? And so, like, if you're not the same, how can the people around you be the same people just around you? I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I'm so sorry.
Beautiful. That's very beautiful.
What they said. I have a couple questions I want to ask Romina, too, because I'm guessing that as you have been meeting with our great young people in the city of St. Paul this week, they have also asked you questions about writing. And I'm really interested to know, what is your process as a writer, right? I'm kind of a wannabe writer, but I feel like I never have time. But tell us a little bit about your journey as a writer and how you think of yourself as a writer now.
Sure. So my journey was a little rough. I wrote my first novel like right out of college, or maybe right in the last minutes of college, and I sent it out into the universe and expecting, like, well, I'll get a contract and then it'll be published and then I'll go sign it at bookstores, and that's how life is, right? Like, that's what you do. So I was shocked when I received a whole round of rejections. I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe it wasn't the right subject. They like Twilight, so vampires. Wrote a second thing, and another like 400-page novel. Rejection. Okay, not a problem, because in the movies it's always the third time. So I wrote a third novel. Wow. Let's skip ahead. 3, 4, 5, all rejected. 8.5 years, and like whatever 400 times 5 is, and I'm a word person, and so sometimes, and I was devastated. I fell into a depression, easily. I was like, they don't care about what I have to say. Nobody wants my stories. And one of my friends, she sat me down and she's like, all right, I'm gonna tell you something. I know you're going to be a published author. I just found out it's going to happen. They just told me, like, you're the first person I'm telling. I don't know what book it's going to be. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. That is your future. Done. What do you do now? And I was like, well, obviously, if I knew that, I would be writing. And then I just looked at her, and she just looked at me. And we just had one of those silly face-off moments where it's like, oh, I'm the one that needs to get it, and I'm like, oh, I should be writing. Oh, of course. 6th book, my first one with a contract. So it took me a long time. And I would say, the best thing I learned about this is the no's don't matter. The rejections don't matter, because all it takes is one yes, and I'm a published author. So what I learned is only I can reject myself. Only I can shut myself down. And if I'm still writing, I'm still in the game. And so that was a big part of it. And as far as my writing process, what I love about this is anytime you get a panel of authors and this question gets asked, each of us will say something so dramatically different that we'll stare at each other and look like, that's how you do it? Like, no, this is how and it's so funny. And I hope it's encouraging to people in the audience, because there is no one way. It's like the opposite of the food, of the recipes, there is no recipe. And there is no time, like some of my books I wrote in like 2 to 3 months. Other ones, like the one I'm working on now, 20 years. I started in 2006 and I'm still writing it. Each one is its own thing. But for me, and I am a neurotic Virgo, so I'm going to do that as a disclaimer, I need to control and know everything. So I begin with I'll start with this quote from Alan Watts, which is, we're not born into this world, we're born from it. And it's such a great distinction, because the world precedes us. It exists before we do. And so I cannot meet my character until I understand the world that birthed them. So I need to know everything, the history of this world, the most important moments, what defines it, who has power, who doesn't, why, who gets oppressed, why, what are the values, what's important in this world. Once I know all of this, and this is often like, it could be up to 100 pages of writing that never even makes it into the book, then I can birth characters from that earth's soil. I can know what they need. So for instance, in Lunaris, what do they need? Well, they're a very gender-rigid society full of binary sort of choices, and there's no breaking out of that. And so they need someone who absolutely represents turning that upside down, someone who does not fit into that binary system. And so then I can begin to say, okay, this is the kind of character we're going to need for this. And then lastly is plot. And I like to describe plot as cornering my characters into making choices. So like when you go to the eye doctor and it's like 1 or 2, 2 or 3, 3 or 4, that's what I do. I like corner, I'm like, all right, this is what's up. Like in Manu's case, ICE has taken your mother. What are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do? And I force her into a position where she's always done what she's told. She's always done like at what point is she gonna take that leap and trust her gut and just venture beyond that protection, that sort of like idea of protection, right? Because she's not protected really. And so, and then that's how I get my plot. And I outline, and then I start writing. But what's funny is my outlines, they can be fallible. And so with Lobizona, I outlined it. I sold the book. It was lovely. I started writing it. I got to page 400. I was at the midpoint of the outline. And I was like, oh, no. Like, I can't turn in an 800-page book, That's not what the contract said. And so I just finished it. And I just sent it off to my editor, hoping she wouldn't notice. And then I get this, email or text, I don't remember, it was in the middle of the night, and she's like, is there going to be a part 2? And I was like, oh my God, what a great idea! A 2? Let's make it a 2-book thing. Yes, we should totally do that. Meanwhile, I just was so embarrassed, because I couldn't admit my outline was wrong. And so book 2, Cazadora, ends at the end of that original outline.
That's incredible. I could stay in conversation with all of you for like 8 more hours at least, but we are coming to the end of our time here because there's still more to come tonight. So I just want to thank you so much, all 4 of you, for bringing your whole selves to this panel, and Romina for coming to St. Paul, and for Her for sharing your stories, and Araya and for KT. Thank you. It takes a lot of guts to sit up here. It takes a lot of guts to share what you did, and I just couldn't be more proud to sit up here next to you. Can we give them a round of applause, please? I did want to let you know, Claire will tell us what to do next, but I did want to let you know that we are so lucky and grateful to our City of St. Paul partners in the Office of Technology and Communication for live streaming this event. We wanted to be in community, and we also know that some folks in our community don't feel safe coming out in community. And so thank you so much to them for enabling us to do that. Thank you for being in conversation with us today. It is a dream to hold a space like this and to hold the spaces that we do every day in the library for different people's stories, different people's experiences, and this couldn't have capsulized it, my dream, better than this today. So thank you again.
All right, let's give one more really big, thunderous applause for these amazing panelists. It is now time to usher you into our dessert portion of the evening. While I do that, Liam, do you want to grab a picture of the panelists? So here we have a very full house tonight, and we had this brilliant plan that involved wrapping around the room and getting you all in lines, but we need your help to make that happen first. If you are, what's going to happen, you don't have to do it now, but what's going to happen is we have two lines that we're going to form. We have our dessert window over here, and we have the book signing table over there. So if you want a dessert, feel free to grab one. But before you do that, we would love for your feedback. You have a survey on your table. We want to know how you heard about this program, what resonated with you the most. You also have the opportunity to pitch a theme idea for next year. So if there's anything that you want to discuss with your community, write it down on your survey. You can leave your finished surveys on the table. You can bring them to the welcome table, or you can bring them up to me. To make these lines possible, if you're seated in a chair that's not at a table, could you stack your chairs, please, and move them to the side? And we're going to get Romina over to the book signing table here shortly. If you need a copy of the book, we have them out at that welcome table in the hallway. And if you need a copy of the survey, come up and see me. Enjoy your desserts. Thank you for filling out the surveys, and thank you so much for coming to Read Brave 2026.